Legends of Wasteland City is a post-apocalyptic anthology series and may contain references to drugs, sex, and violence, along with the occasional vulgarity. You've been warned. Don't Stop Shooting, Chapter 4. As they ate oranges by the dozen, Jeremiah and Liv got to talking, both sharing their stories that brought them both to this train today. Of course, neither had been alive before the fall, but still, the worlds they grew up in were very different. Liv's parents had died from the sick when she and her younger sister Blizz were both very young. They were lucky enough to be cared for by a nice family in Nolans, but the gang wars had gotten pretty bad before the railmen took charge of all of them, and Liv and Blizz decided to head out on their own rather than live under the boots of the gangs. Them and a few others became a small sort of resistance, living underground and disrupting the gangs however they could. But now she was the last survivor of that small band of freedom fighters and had to figure out what was next. The money, if there was any actual money, could be her ticket to a new life out west, away from the sick, which she'd heard was not as big of a problem in the drier climates. The trip to Houston took a little over 9 hours in the old world, but this train was making stops every couple of hours and it was taking much longer. Jeremiah and Liv had emptied out 2 of the orange crates that were big enough for each of them to fit in, and would hide inside them anytime the train stopped. So far, no one had even come through, but it was better to be careful than get caught. Jeremiah showed Liv the map that Pops had given him. It showed Houston and where he thought the farms would be, about 30 miles west of the city. Liv pointed to a spot in downtown Houston where they'd try to find the bank that held the safety deposit box. On the map, it didn't look all that far from the railway. Jeremiah figured it'd be a quick detour on the way to save his siblings. Quite a while after sunset, they could see the backlit skyline of a big city ahead, with the waxing moon up behind it. As soon as they felt the train starting to slow down, they gathered up their bags, filled them the rest of the way with as many oranges as would fit, and got ready to move.
Okay. Once it slows down enough, we're gonna jump.
Liv opened the rear door of the orange car. Jeremiah followed and could see the moonlight barely lighting up the tracks enough to see the railroad ties zooming past in a blur.
Jump? I thought we were... If you thought the station was dangerous in Nolans, let's just say we don't want to go anywhere near this lion's den. Okay. Now.
Liv climbed down to the bottom rung of the ladder and jumped off. Her feet caught on the gravel next to the tracks and pulled her legs out from under her. She toppled but rolled and popped back up onto her feet. To Jeremiah, this was some kind of supernatural move she just pulled. He looked at the still rushing tracks beneath him.
Well?
Jeremiah climbed down to the bottom rung. He let his left foot dangle down until the gravel caught his toe and almost pulled him right off the ladder. He looked up at Liv, who was steadily getting further away and disappearing in the darkness. For just a moment, he thought he could climb back up, hide in that crate again, and stay hid until the train reached the other side of the city. Then he'd never have to find out what was so terrible in Houston. But Liv was the only friend he had right now, and he had made a deal. It was time to live up to it.
Be scared, and do it anyway.
He closed his eyes and let go of the ladder. The ground hit him harder than that shotgun recoil a few days ago. He rolled down the hill of gravel, each stone's edge finding a soft patch on his flesh to bite into. When he came to a stop at the bottom of the tracks, his whole body ached. Liv came running and caught up to him a minute later.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I did it. I jumped.
No, you crashed. What did you do? Close your eyes?
No.
Holy shit. Can you walk?
I think so.
Okay, good. 'Cause otherwise I'd have to leave you here.
Jeremiah took the hint and hopped up to his feet. His left leg was pretty banged up, but it held his weight.
Okay, Houston. Ready or not, here we come.
They walked towards the faint lights of downtown, though they could see that they were still a couple of miles away. They'd periodically pull out Jeremiah's map, and even though it wasn't detailed enough to see every street, they could tell which direction to go based on the major roads. A lot of the neighborhoods they passed through were deserted, and a few times they could hear voices or see fires where survivors were congregated. But they made their way around those areas, trying their best to go completely unnoticed. As they got closer to downtown, there was a lot more activity. Groups of men dressed as ragtag soldiers were stationed here and there at posts lit with firelight, some even looking like they were out on patrols. Downtown Houston was across the river from where they were, and they noticed that on each of the bridges, the soldiers were positioned pointing that way, with large fences and barriers built up on each bridge. Whoever, or whatever, was on the other side of the river, the soldiers sure wanted to keep them there. Trying to find a way over the river was getting very frustrating. At each overpass, one after the next, there were soldiers stationed. It wasn't until they'd gone completely around the tall buildings of downtown that they spotted a pedestrian footbridge with only a single guard stationed at its end. They decided that he'd eventually need to relieve himself or maybe fall asleep, or there'd be a shift change. Either way, they could try to wait this guy out. They found a nice spot in some bushes nearby where they could keep an eye on him without being seen. It wasn't even an hour before the soldier got up from his spot on the end of the bridge and walked about 50 feet away. Once he had his pants down and popped his squat, they made a run for it. They made it onto the bridge and were halfway to the chain link fence and the short wall made of old car tires that cut the bridge in two before the soldier even noticed them.
Hey!
The soldier pulled his pants up and started running after the pair without even getting his belt fastened, which made his run awkward and slow. Jeremiah made it to the barrier first and climbed onto the fence, which extended out over the edge of the bridge and over the river water below. He wrapped his arms around the outer pole and swung his body around to the other side.
Hey! You too! Stop! Stop!
Liv went next, but lost her grip as she tried to swing around the pole. She dangled awkwardly by one arm for a moment before regaining her grip, and with the help of Jeremiah, climbed around the outer pole to the other side of the barrier.
You okay?
Yeah. Thanks for that.
They ran the rest of the length of the bridge and disappeared into the shadows of the downtown buildings as the soldier got to the bridge's center barrier.
God damn it! Gonna fucking die in there.
The soldier shook his head and walked back to his post. Most of downtown was dark, but a few buildings had lights in the windows, flickering like fires or maybe gas lamps. They made their way through a small park, and then onto the main street, trying to stick to the shadows the best they could. Liv didn't know these streets like she did in Nolans, so they had to keep checking around corners and waiting. A lot. She seemed nervous, for the first time since Jeremiah had met her. He was scared, but tried his best not to show it. There were no alleys like Nolans had, and the streets were wide and open, covered in old rusted-out cars and buses. They crept between the still traffic, making their way down the road and stopping every 20 yards or so to scope things out.
What are you looking for?
Anything. Everything? I don't know.
What's here?
I've only heard rumors.
She moved ahead, and Jeremiah caught up.
Of what?
Cannibals.
Like that 8 people?
That 8 people who died from the sick.
Gross.
Yeah, but it gets worse.
I don't know what could be worse than that.
You know how it's bad to eat human flesh? Like specifically the brains?
I got no idea what you're going on about.
Well, it's bad. Gives you the shakes and makes you laugh yourself to death. But not like a fun laugh. A maniacal, crazy, out-of-your-mind laugh.
Once again, she moved forward. Jeremiah couldn't help but ask as he moved to catch up.
Couldn't you just not eat the brains? I mean, if you were going to eat people, hypothetically.
That's just it. See, normally, it's just the brains. But if you eat any part of someone who dies from the sick, you get the shakes, but even worse. 'Cause you also get dumb. Like dumber than the sick survivors, and have a hunger for human flesh.
She laid it on pretty thick at the end, like she was telling a ghost story. Jeremiah couldn't make out if she was telling the truth anymore.
Really?
Or it could be something people just make up so no one comes here. Who knows?
From far behind them, in the middle of the road, they heard the sound of a pipe falling to the ground, followed by a long, echoing, maniacal laugh.
Well, I guess that answers that.
Maybe we should move faster. Get off the street.
The laugh echoed between the buildings again, and they could hear the faint sound of footsteps coming right towards them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
They ran as fast as they could through the rusted cars, dodging piles of garbage along the way. They didn't look back, but they could hear that same laugh getting closer behind them. They turned left into the open garage of one of the buildings. It was a loading bay and seemed to be a dead end, but there was an open metal door right in front of them, up on the loading dock. They ran in and shoved it closed, finding the deadbolt and forcing the rusty lock shut. The door had a small, wire-reinforced glass window, and Liv looked through it just in time to see a half-naked man turn into the loading bay. She ducked down, hoping he didn't see her. They both leaned against the door, pressing their ears against the cold metal to try and hear the man's movements. Another laugh. And another, even closer. Then silence.
Hold it shut!
Two fists pounded on the door again and again. The two looked up to see the crazed eye of the man looking through the small window. They stayed close with their bodies pressed up against the door, hoping it held. It had to. The door shook with every blow, moonlight streaming in around the edges as the deadbolt rattled inside the rusted frame, which seemed to hold on by its very last molecules of good steel. After 20 or 30 seconds of the banging getting less and less forceful, it stopped. Jeremiah stood up slowly and peeked out through the window.
I don't see anything.
That was close. Okay. Let's try to figure out where we are.
She rummaged in her bag and pulled out her flashlight, flicking it on, but covering the lens with her hand so it wouldn't shine too bright at first. They were in the service corridor of the building, and an old sign on the wall had a bunch of businesses listed and a numbered map of the ground floor. She scanned down the list.
Zion Bank. We made it.
Well, that's lucky.
I'd say. Looks like it's this way. Okay.
They made their way down the corridor and found a door that appeared to lead to the building's main lobby. Liv turned the knob and pushed, but it only opened a few inches before hitting something on the other side. They both leaned against the door and forced it open, pushing whatever was on the other side along with it. Once they could fit, Jeremiah held the door so Liv could slide through, gun in hand to make sure the lobby didn't have any more of those crazies in it.
Gross.
Seeing that they were alone, she pushed the rotten dead body that was leaning against the door to the side so that Jeremiah could fit through as well. The lobby looked like it was the location of some kind of a last stand, with the front broken glass windowed entryway being barricaded with furniture, sandbags, anything they could seemingly get their hands on. But there was no sign of anyone being here anymore, and hadn't been for a while. On the floor in a corner was what looked like a war zone medical staging area. A couple hospital beds were set up with several cots next to them, and then maybe a dozen beds made of just folded blankets laid out right on the tile floor. There was the remains and smell of body fluids still lingering all around them. Old blood, vomit, piss, shit, and piled up bandage wrappers, fluid bags, and other medical waste, but no bodies besides the one at the door. Whatever went down in here, it wasn't pretty. The reception desk had been converted to a hold point, complete with sandbags around it and a machine gun mounted where the old receptionist would have sat. Jeremiah gave the gun a look, considering whether he could unmount it and take it with them, assuming it had any ammo.
Don't bother.
She looked at Jeremiah and then up at the gun's barrel, flinching her head so he'd look. Jeremiah saw that the end of the barrel had been blown open, maybe from a misfire or a stuck bullet. It wouldn't do much good in that condition. They walked further into the building, under a pair of escalators that straddled the reception desk on either side. And as what little moonlight there was fell off into darkness, Liv saw what she was hoping for.
Bingo. Here we go.
Jeremiah saw what she was seeing. An old row of bank teller windows set up against the back wall of the lobby.
Where would the deposit box be?
Behind there? Maybe in one of those doors. A vault or something.
Sure enough, there were large, heavy doors behind the glass, both seemingly open. Jeremiah scanned the room for a way behind the teller windows. There was a door to the right, but it was barricaded tighter than the lobby entrance was, and it was probably locked from the inside anyway. The teller windows were cracked in places like they'd been hit with something big. A lot. But he looked up and saw that the security glass stopped about a foot before the ceiling. It still had to be a good 16 feet up, though.
We could go over. Just need a ladder or something.
Wait, wasn't there a maintenance room on the map?
15 minutes later, they had a stepladder perched on top of a desk dragged from the small row of glass offices lining down one wall of the lobby.
All right. I'll go over. You keep an eye out and try to clear the doorway. I don't want to get stuck in there.
Okay, just be quick.
Jeremiah held the ladder steady as Liv climbed. She had to stand on the very top platform of the ladder and was able to push her backpack up over the glass wall, which fell in a puff of dust on the desk below, and then pulled herself up and over the glass. She dropped down onto the other side, landing on the top of the desks where the tellers would have handed money back and forth in the old days.
Okay.
She pulled the key out of her pocket and made a big show of holding it up for Jeremiah to see.
Whew. Number 417. Wish me luck. We're gonna be rich.
Liv disappeared through one of the doors and popped back a moment later, coughing.
Not in there. But I found out where everyone is.
She went in through the other door, and Jeremiah got to work clearing all the random things used to barricade the teller entrance door. Chairs, boxes, a fire hose, file cabinets. Whoever was doing this was using anything they could to keep something out. Inside the vault, Liv found stacks of safety deposit boxes. Some of the larger ones had been busted open with nothing remaining inside them. But there it was, a small, maybe 2-inch by 10-inch box sitting untouched. Way too small to have $1 billion inside. She put in the key, turned it, and the door swung out without even a creak. She looked in the seemingly empty box and saw a single manila envelope. She pulled it out and opened the flap, held closed with only a small pair of brass wings. Outside, Jeremiah had just finished clearing the door enough to try the handle. And of course found it locked from the inside.
Well, I had to try.
The laugh echoed through the lobby, seemingly coming from every direction at once.
Liv? Liv?
Liv pulled an official-looking paper from inside the envelope and read the print.
Common stock. 10,000 shares of Apple Inc. God damn it!
She tore the certificate in half and threw it away from her like it was poisoned and on fire.
Liv!
Liv came running out of the vault to see Jeremiah backed against the desk that held the ladder up to the glass. He had the pistol in his hands and was waving it at 6 crazed-looking people approaching him from the front lobby. They were all different ages, but all looked like they'd been dead and buried and somehow came back to life. They all had blood and drool running down their mouths and looked at Jeremiah like he was the last canned ham on the planet. Periodically, each of them laughed without so much of a smile, completely involuntarily. Jeremiah aimed his 9mm at the biggest one in the middle and fired, putting a bullet in the crazy's stomach. But the large man kept on his feet and continued closing in on him along with the rest of them. Liv ran over to the teller entrance door and tried to unlock it, but even from the inside it had an electronic-coded lock, and there was no power. The door wasn't going to open.
Climb over! Quick!
Oh, shit! Oh my God!
Jeremiah took off his rucksack and with one big swing threw it up and over the glass wall behind him, barely clearing it through the gap, and then jumped up on the desk, climbing the ladder just as the 6 crazies closed in around him. They reached for the ladder, trying to pull it down, but Jeremiah was able to reach up and grab the top of the glass wall as they pulled the ladder from underneath him. He hung there, barely able to hang on, using every ounce of strength to pull himself up while Liv watched helplessly from the other side.
Come on! You've got it!
Okay!
Jeremiah's shoes slipped again and again on the glass as he tried to pull himself up, but he could barely hold on, let alone pull his body weight up. 2 of the crazies climbed up on the desk and were just able to grab at Jeremiah's feet. He kicked at them, exasperated. Liv climbed up on the desk behind the glass wall, trying to get as close as she could to Jeremiah, but still helpless from her position 6 feet below the top of the wall. She noticed a growing wet spot on Jeremiah's pants and looked up to catch Jeremiah's eyes through the glass.
Don't you give up.
Jeremiah saw the hopelessness in her eyes, and he let his whole body hang, still gripping the top of the glass, but saving his energy.
Wait. Hold on. I've got an idea.
Liv jumped down off the desk and went through her bag, pulling out the paracord. This had to work. Jeremiah kicked off the hands of the 2 crazies and watched as Liv tied a big loop in the end of the paracord, and with 3 agonizing attempts, managed to throw the looped end over the wall. At first, Jeremiah tried to grab onto it.
Yeah. No. Stick your foot in the hole.
Easier said than done. Liv let the cord go until the loop was right at Jeremiah's foot, and Jeremiah tried his best to get his toe in the hole, but it wasn't working. In an all-or-nothing attempt, he let go of the wall with one hand and looped the end of the paracord around his shoe. His other hand burned from holding his entire weight up on the 1-inch-wide glass wall, but he was able to grab it again with both hands. Liv wrapped the rest of the paracord around her arm and pulled with all of her body weight as Jeremiah pushed up with his leg in the loop. It was just enough to get him up over the top, where he rested a minute as the 6 crazies below looked at him and cackled.
What the hell just happened?
They're like zombified.
The crazies pounded on the glass wall, and the 2 watched them for a moment, studying them from this safe vantage point. They didn't seem all that intelligent, and their eyes were empty, like there wasn't much of whatever made them human left in there.
Think there's a way out of here before I jump town?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think so.
So we're stuck here?
As the last crazy fell to the ground with fresh gunshots to the head, the guard from the footbridge walked in around the reception desk, holding his rifle at the dead bodies. One more shot finished off the biggest one. Liv and Jeremiah just watched him, not sure what to do.
You kids okay?
Better now. As long as you're not planning to kill us too.
What the hell were you thinking coming in here? You're lucky I heard that shot.
I didn't think they were actually real.
All right, come on.
The guard set the ladder back up on the desk and Jeremiah climbed down. Then Liv used the paracord to send over her bag and put her foot in the loop while the soldier and Jeremiah held the other end to help her climb back over as well. On the way out of the lobby, Liv pointed to the dead body behind the door.
If you need some new pants, I don't think he'd mind.
I'm thinking maybe not. They'll dry soon enough. Can we all pretend that didn't happen?
The 3 made their way back the way they'd come in, with the guard leading the way, checking every direction with his assault rifle. Only when they'd made it back across the bridge did the guard speak up again.
I hope whatever you went in there for was worth it.
It was worth something to someone a long time ago. Not so much now.
Well, I'm sure I don't need to tell you that you're lucky to be alive right now. These giggle shakers are like ravenous wolves.
Giggle shakers?
Yeah. They giggle, and they shake. Giggle shakers.
You should just call them zombies. Giggle shakers doesn't sound very scary.
It does when 10 of them try to cross that bridge. Besides, zombies would be dead. These guys are still alive. Just sick. Real sick. Okay, what the hell is going on with you kids? What are you doing here?
Okay, well, thanks for the help, but we've got a train to catch.
Liv grabbed Jeremiah's arm and started walking back up the river the way they'd come.
Look, I don't know what you two are up to, but the railmen are not going to take kindly to you sneaking on that train.
We already done it once, in Nolans.
Jeremiah called back as Liv pushed his head back around, away from the soldier.
So you're headed west then. Well, there's a better way.
Liv and Jeremiah stopped walking, looked at each other, and turned back toward the soldier. As they walked down the old pedestrian path along the river, the soldier told them about how he was part of a security group paid by the railmen to take back Houston from the Giggle Shakers. But after months of fighting them without making any progress and using up most of their ammo, they decided to just trap them all downtown, thinking they'd starve themselves to death eventually. But they must have found supplies or maybe been eating some rats because there didn't seem to be any less of them. So now the railmen pay them to guard the barricades all around downtown and hunt down any that happened to escape. There were literally thousands of them still, though they were mostly active at night or when something disturbed them. They were alive, sure, but not quite human anymore. Whatever virus the sick was that they carried was in control. But the good news was, once they were dead, they were dead. The soldier led them to a small outstation along the tracks that led west. It wouldn't be as heavily guarded as the main station in the city, but the train would stop here to fill the water tankers with well-pumped water, rather than the river water the people of the city drank. It was the same engine they'd rode into town on, but with some different cars on the back end. The Orange's car was gone.
See that train there? It's being filled up right now, so this is your chance to get on it. Doesn't have any stock cars, so you'll have to just find a spot where you won't fall off, toward the back.
I just have to ask, why do you work for these people? You know what they do, right?
You mean the slavers? Yeah. I wasn't too happy to hear about that. I got a kid myself, about his age.
He gestured to Jeremiah.
That's probably the only reason I'm even helping you two. But look, I work for my boss, who contracts for the government railmen. And the slavers, well, they're just clients. I'm not saying it's right, but you do what you gotta do out here to survive. Every now and then, you get a chance to do something, maybe a little good. I don't know what you two are up to, and perhaps I don't even want to know. But I hope you find what you're looking for.
Thanks for helping us. Hey, what's your name anyway?
Just call me Grunt. You two better get a move on. That train could take off any minute, and I've got to get back to my post before anybody sees that I'm not there. Go.
Grunt turned back toward his post, leaving Jeremiah and Liv to head toward the train. He was right. There was only one guard at the post, and he was busy flirting with the woman in charge of the water valves. Jeremiah counted 7 gigantic tankers loaded behind the engine, and could only think of the rain collectors they used back at Mudhaven. He had a quick thought about how some people still lived with plenty while the rest of the world suffered, but he was pulled out of it by Liv.
Here we go again.
They made their way to the second water car from the back and climbed on. There was only a small standing platform, but they were able to stick their legs under the railing and use their packs for support behind them. A few minutes later, the train whistled twice and started heading west.
Liv?
Yeah, kid.
I wasn't paid, right?
I shouldn't have left you out there like that. I promise you, we'll stay side by side until this is done.
Don't Stop Shootin' was written, directed, and narrated by me, Mike Makeshift Darling, and features the voice talents of Alexis Van Dum as Jeremiah, Megan Hensley as Liv, Jet Black as Grunt, and Ian Slater, Christine Conger, Jonathan Regier, and me, Mike Darling, as Giggle Shakers. Legends of Wasteland City is a production of the Apocalypse Post and Studio Ruckus, and is sponsored by the Love Bombs and backed by our many Patreon supporters. including Adam Kasper, Alex Anxiety Anderson, and Alice Matyash. You too can support Legends of Wasteland City by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/theapocalypsepost. Stick around after the break for news and notes with Makeshift.
The Love Bombs provide top-notch outcomes for the most discriminating clients all across the Wasteland. When you need executive escort and protection, intelligence analysis, direct action, or other specialized solutions, the Love Bombs provide a bespoke option tailored directly to your needs. Listen to this heartfelt testimonial from one of the Love Bombs' satisfied clients.
I hired the Love Bombs to save my precious Pookie Pie from them there scabs over yonder. They was fixing to turn his poor hide into jerky. Woo! Whew! I reckon not a one of those bastards will walk away from this scuffle. Goodness gracious, I reckon I ain't ever seen a gun that big. The Love Bombs will give your enemies a licking they won't soon forget.
Yes, the Love Bombs. They're polite, professional, and have a plan to kill everyone they meet. The Love Bombs provide complete confidentiality in their free initial consultation. That's right, the initial consultation is absolutely free. Remember, the Love Bombs. Artillery available.
This is Grim Grinner, broadcasting on all channels. Welcome to the Waste is available to listen on Spotify, Anchor FM, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Find out more at linktree.com/welcome to the wastes. See you in the wastes.
Hey, you thirsty?
Yeah, I'm parched.
Well, try this. It's water that's packed with everything you need to survive. Vitamins, protein, glucose, electrolytes, and amino acids.
I don't know what any of that is.
Just know it helps you stay alive. Go ahead, take a sip.
Puh! What the hell is that? It tastes like metal.
It's Raiderade from the Dead Raider Jerky Company, and it's the best survival and sports drink out there.
Wait, this is a literal can of blood. And who's got time for sports?
Come on, you never heard of blood sports like Jugger?
Well, I guess.
That's right. It's straight up, small batch, single source, local, sustainable Raider blood. Raiderade. We can get about 10 cans from a single Raider.
That's crazy! I'm not gonna drink human.
You will, when you get thirsty enough. I'll never forget the day I first tasted it. 4 of us were held up in an old gas station. Our water had run out 3 days before. Lester, he just went crazy. Started swinging a knife at the rest of us. There was nothing we could do. We had to put him down.
I thought you said Lester sacrificed himself to save you all.
He did, Garrett. He did. So fight off your thirst with the Dead Raider Jerky Company's Raiderade. Guaranteed mostly free of drugs, rads, and other contamination.
What if I don't want to drink it?
It also makes great soup, and don't get me started on Raiderade sausage.
Well, does it come in any flavors at least?
Raiderade comes in everyone's favorite original flavor, red.
Okay, sign me up, I guess.
The Dead Raider Jerky Company. Fuck it, let's drink the bastards. Hey survivors, thanks for sticking around. So let's talk about episode 4, which found us in Houston, and we discovered the Giggle Shakers. It's not a very scary name. It's kind of funny, actually. I wasn't sure what to call them, because of course, I don't want to do zombies, because, well, first off, Wasteland Weekend, the event, part of their lore is that it's supposed to be built in the Mad Max universe, and Fallout, although they still, even when they include Fallout, no mutants, no ghouls, which are kind of like the zombies of the Fallout world. But yeah, I didn't want to do zombies. I didn't want to do anything too sci-fi in that case. And so I was trying to figure out, like, are there any diseases like this? And of course there are. There are so many parasites that can actually take over a different body. We've all seen
what is it? The worm? No. Some bug gets taken over by a worm. That's what it is. And it legitimately just completely takes it over. It controls its mind and makes it do things to help the worm replicate at the demise of the bug. And of course, we kind of saw something similar with Last of Us. They're very much zombies and zombie-like, though they do kind of have a hive mind because it's all the fungus that's taking over rather than your typical virus that causes zombieism. But yeah, I was looking for something that could be a little bit original for this story, and I really enjoy them, so I think we'll probably see some more giggle shakers at some point, though spoiler alert, probably not in the rest of this season, not in the rest of this story. But yeah, so it is true, if you eat human brains, and I'm gonna suggest that none of you do it, but there is a disease that you can get. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Okay, so there is this actual disease out there. I just looked this up. Sorry for the pause. Called Kuru, Kuru. And this is straight from MountSinai.org. Kuru is found among people from New Guinea who practice a form of cannibalism in which they ate the brains of dead people as part of a funeral ritual. So, not the same kind of cannibals we find in post-apocalyptic stories, but very similar when you think about the actual practice. It stopped in 1960, but cases of Kuru were reported for many years afterward because the disease has a long incubation period. The incubation period is the time... Oh, now it's just telling me about diseases. Anyway, so it is true. You can get Kuru from eating people's brains. I believe it's extinct now. That's what they're saying. But, if you can get one disease by eating human brains, why not more? I mean, of course, we've got mad cow disease. I think Kuru might be related. I'm not going to look this up. I'm just going to, just keep spouting off ideas. Because that's how I came up with the giggle shakers. I had heard about this disease years ago. I went back, looked it up. And it kind of makes you giggle and it makes you shake a little bit. That's Kuru. And so that's one of the ways you knew people had Kuru was that they got this. And to say that, someone that had the sick, which I guess, now that I think back on it, it's probably Kuru that they had or some version of it. Because after people get the sick in this story, if you eat any part of their body, you can get the disease. And in this case, it completely deteriorates your ability to think for yourself and basically puts you back into a very animalistic survival mode without being able to make choices or ideas or talk or any of many things that make us human. And so, yeah, the giggle shakers were born, and I didn't know what was going to happen in Houston when I started the story. I just looked at a map and I saw, Houston was a major city on the way to the farmlands of Texas. I'm sure there's plenty of farmlands before then, but whatever. So I didn't know what they were going to be doing there right away or what they were going to find, but the giggle shakers just kind of showed themselves to me. So, giggle shakers. Yeah, I know. There probably could be a better story or a better name for them, but whatever. I enjoy the heck out of it. And I think it gives that little bit of levity of, don't take these things too seriously. Giggle shakers. And Ian Slater is our new voice of the week. He's the only new voice in this episode, but yeah, he was the first giggle shaker. So of course we only got to hear him laughing a whole bunch, but he'll be playing another character later on in the series. Where do you think this story's going? We got 2 episodes left. Where do you guys think it's going? Do you think that Jeremiah and Liv are going to make it? Do you think they will find Jeremiah's siblings? Do you think they'll even find the farms in Texas or anything? What do you guys think? Also, are you just enjoying the ride so far? That's the big question. So I want to talk a little bit about some other Apocalypse Post stuff. First off, this is your last chance to sign up for the Ticket to Valhalla patch for the Apocalypse Post September patch of the month. By joining our Patreon at the $10 level or higher, you are automatically signed up for the Patch of the Month Club. Once you join at the $10 level or higher, there are also tiers where you can get 2 patches or even 4 patches. That's the tribe level. And if you do that one, you get $1 off each. So it's $36 for 4 of them. Anyway, I just wanted to offer people some more options if they were looking for them, because I know, not everybody has a Patreon account. So in this case, if you've got a family or a tribe, you can use one account, support the channel for everybody, and receive as many, not as many, but 4 patches. And of course, if you're signed up for one of the higher tiers, and if it's more than if it's $20 or more and you're not getting more than one patch for some reason, just let me know, because I'll send as many as that tier will allow, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's see. Last month, we sent out over 50 patches, and it does keep growing every month. More and more people are getting behind this. I keep getting messages like, I love the patch, keep them coming. I'm finishing up my costume for this year, so love getting the stuff in the mail. I've heard people just love getting the fun little Apocalypse Post envelope that shows up every month. So that's really fun. And I definitely appreciate the feedback from everybody. It's been really great, and only positive responses so far. But the patch of the month and all the merch sales, and of course all of the other Patreon support really helps to make bringing you post-apocalyptic and Wasteland content so much easier. It totally takes the edge off the financial expenses and the time dedication that it takes to keep the production going on throughout the year. And I know I'm not always very consistent, but paying bills and real work comes first. But here's the thing, guys. There is a future, a foreseeable future. Like, I see a time real soon where this will become my priority. And that's just if you guys keep jumping on the Patreon and supporting in any way you can. There is a day, I think, that I'll be able to just work on this and collaborate with more Wastelanders and bring more people onto the show. And anyway, all that to say, a huge thank you to all my supporters. You guys are amazing. Let's see. The Wasteland Weekend 2023 Bird's Eye map is still available. I've got 3. I'm down to 3 laminated maps remaining. So if you wanted one of those, get your order in fast. However, I do have tons of the unlaminated ones as well, which also means if you wanted one that was going to be framed, I can, of course, hook you up. But you can find those at theapocalypsepost.square.site. And if you want it shipped to you, if you're going to be at Wasteland Weekend, I am going to bring a bunch of these for sale. So if you're coming to Wasteland Weekend 2024, come by the Apocalypse Outpost in the Dukes of the Nuke camp to pick up your fresh Apocalypse Post and Dukes of the Nuke merch, and you'll help to support both the show and the tribe. And we've got a lot of stuff coming this year. We've got a new round of Valhalla's Vault. We got a bunch of leather goods. Bullet, who is one of our new war chiefs, has kept his 3D printer going like crazy. He's got a bunch of Duke's merch coming up as well. So we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff. Kind of our biggest merch pile ever. So please stop by, check it out. Don't forget to bring cash, because we can't take cards out there. There's just no internet connection of any kind. And we don't have that big old 1980s roller stamp thing. Ka-ching, ka-ching. You know what I'm talking about? We used to have those at some of the restaurants I worked at for when the computers went down. And it was always funny to break them out, because everyone was like, whoa, blast from the past. Speaking of Wasteland, we are now 1 month to Wasteland Weekend, depending on the exact day you hear this and the exact day you're showing up. And I'm so excited. Holy crap, I'm so excited. Not only will I have brought the best merch booth I've ever brought, but also I have live performances every day. If you guys don't know, I play live music, and I've kind of dedicated my style to the acoustic singer-songwriter folky sound of the Wasteland. So you'll have an opportunity to hear some of that. I'll also have Mongo and Bullet of the Dukes of Nuke joining me on stage at the Rec Room. That'll be Thursday afternoon. Oh, and by the way, if you come to the Rec Room show, the Dukes of the Nuke and I will be hosting the Jag Bar. So you can come get a drink. All you need to do is be friends of the Rec Room or friends of the Apocalypse Post, and you will be served a cocktail of choice. And don't worry, I'll also have a non-alcoholic option for you as well. So come enjoy the show, get a drink, enjoy the shade and the beautiful misters of the Rec Room, and come hang out. And of course, I'll be amiss if I don't plug the next show, which is going to be Friday morning, late morning at DXC at the Dauntless Express Corps' Forlorn Hope Saloon. Showdire and I will be co-hosting, along with Feather Edge, triple co-hosting, an acoustic sunrise, well, semi-acoustic. It might get a little loud, we'll see. But I just kind of want to do that fun coffee house morning. So that one, rather than cocktails, there'll be some coffees available for you as well. For that one, you just need to be friends of the Dauntless, Dukes of the Nuke, or me, or Showdire, or just be really friendly when you get there. So yeah, a couple of things. I'll put out a calendar on my Facebook, probably on the Apocalypse Post Facebook, with just all the things. I just want to make sure I get them all included before I start making graphics and stuff. But yeah, there'll be lots of chances to see me perform. I'll also be doing Fuck It, Fake It. I'll be doing the variety show. Lots of things. And there will probably be a couple improv sets as well. So you might just see me around. But I've been working on a bunch of new songs. I have well over an hour of material. And I'm excited to play it. So anyway, and the funny thing is, I don't have it recorded. So if you want to hear me play music, now's the time. And I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. I played these for at least 3 people this week, and they enjoyed them. So I think you'll enjoy them too. Oh boy, let's see. And yeah, besides the live performances, I've got a bunch of video projects to do. So I'll be continuing to bring you things on the Apocalypse Post. The other thing is, don't feel afraid to say hi if you see me out in Wasteland. Of course, I'm speaking to you Wastelanders. For those of you external Apocalypse Post fans that have never been to Wasteland, first off, you should. And second, I apologize because I know I'm always talking about Wasteland, but I'm just excited. But yeah, feel free to say hi. Just know that I'll be running around like crazy and I may have overscheduled myself as always. So if I make things brief, I will pre-apologize, but I absolutely love talking to all of you, seeing your costumes, hearing your stories, and of course, everyone has always told me, which Apocalypse Post show, whether it's Legends of Wasteland City or the tutorials or the documentaries, they've enjoyed and helped them get to Wasteland. And that's always one of my favorite things to hear, is that I had some small part to play in someone getting to the events. Also, a few days ago, last week, Wasteland did announce that the tickets were 90% sold out. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, now's the time. And once you do, I'll see you there. All right, so along with Wasteland Weekend, there's a ton of other post-apocalypse events going on in the world. I don't know if you know this. You might not, especially if you're in Southern California. But this year, I'll be doing a special collaboration with Post-Apocalyptic Events to create a new map showing off all the events, annual gatherings, more. Sometimes it's just people getting in their cars and driving up the highway. Sometimes it is more of a zombie-style LARP. And sometimes it's just like a club night. But Post-Apocalyptic Events has everything listed. This is not an ad. This is not paid for. I'm just really stoked about it because I use the website all the time to help me figure out what's going on in the world. Yeah, that is run by Carl Bartoszinski, who some of you may know as one of the creators of Wasteland Weekend. And he has been collecting all this information on all these different events for years. The website actually gets great traffic because there's people out there looking for them. But yeah, if you're looking for a event in your neighborhood, even if it's not in the United States, it's a great first stop to make because there's a ton of information on there. They've got a calendar of upcoming events, post-apocalypse blog, and of course they've got their own merch store that has a ton of military gear and more to help you build your costume. So make sure to check out post-apocevents.com, post-apocevents.com. I guess it kind of sounds like an ad, but it's not. It's just me, hyping up my buddy who's got a cool website. All right, lastly, if you're having a hard time getting enough post-apocalyptic drama in your life, and Legends of Wasteland City is taking a little too long, go check out a couple of my other favorite shows to listen to. Once again, not an ad. I just really like these shows. After the Apocalypse just finished season 4 this past spring, you can go back in my archive and hear one of the interviews I did with them. It's a really great show. It came out during the pandemic, and it's a post-pandemic apocalypse. Of course, in their case, it's more like 97% of people died rather than survived. But it's a really cool story. The narrator's fantastic, and they just finished their 4th season, and season 5's coming up soon. I also recently discovered the Strata, S-T-R-A-T-A, the Strata. They're currently in their 10th season, and I'm in the middle of season 9, and this show has been fantastic. I'm taking a lot of inspiration from it. They do narratorless, so it's all dialogue, which means you're fully immersed, nothing to take you out of it. I am absolutely going to try one of these really soon, because I do almost all the stories that I've done on Legends of Wasteland City have been narrator-driven, or at least first-person narrator-driven, in the case of the Rabbit Asylum story. But yeah, I definitely want to try it. It's a whole different thing. It's more, you find things out through dialogue than through action. I think I go with the narrated thing because it's all action, and I want you guys to know what is happening, because it's kind of hard to do with just sound effects sometimes. But yeah, check out the Strata. It feels a lot like it's right out of the Cyberpunk video games. I bet he took a lot of inspiration from that, and has some of the best voice acting and immersive sound effects I've heard out there. I literally put it on while I was doing a bunch of house maintenance this summer. It was dreadfully hot. And I don't know if I would have got through it without a good show like that. And I know that some of you listen to this show in those circumstances, whether it's a long drive, or you're working on your Wasteland costumes, or you're at work suffering the real world. And I think that's really cool. I love hearing that people put this on in the background. Some people just want to hear my raspberry voice, which is extra raspberry because I just got back from a work trip. So I don't know, maybe it's just a little tired. I didn't do a lot of talking, but it gives me that radio DJ sound when I get up on top of the mic like this. It also sounds a little airy and wet. I am not a professional voiceover actor. I do a lot of it, but I definitely am not a pro. I just got this new microphone, which I really like. Have you guys noticed a difference? I think it sounds so good. So good. I had practiced with a lot of different microphones. I've bought microphone after microphone. I've bought very expensive microphones, given them a try, and just none of them outmatched my old shotgun mic that I used to use. And it was such a shame because I would get these mics and I would try them and I'd be like, oh, this one's supposed to be better. What's the problem here? But then they'd either be really noisy or tinny or bring out way too much bass. I think this one brings out just the right amount of bass for my voice to make it sound cool. Because you know how when you hear your own voice, you hear it cooler, and then you hear yourself in a recording and you're like, oh man, my voice sounds so dumb. Because I definitely get that feeling. This mic is almost like it's in my head when I hear it back. It's exactly what I want it to sound like. Anyway, if you're curious, and once again, not an ad, this is the TZ Audio Products Stellar X2. I think it goes for $300 and change or something like that. I got it on Prime Day for a big discount. It was 30% off or something like that, and I'm so happy I did. I got it along with another microphone around that same price. It was the Audio-Technica AT2035, another very highly rated fair priced microphone, and I put them side by side, and then I put both of them side by side with my old shotgun microphone, and holy crap, there was such a clear winner. I was so happy to finally have a microphone that I'm like, this one's perfect for me. I still use that shotgun for a lot of my Foley. And for those of you that don't know, Foley is when you're creating your own sound effects. Most of the time, that would be used for video, if you're matching a sound effect, if you're trying to do footsteps for someone walking and you don't want to just use some canned footsteps. So the act of recording a sound effect to match something that's happening on screen is called Foleying, developed by some guy named Foley, probably back in the early talkies. So anyway, yeah, when I'm doing Foley, I still use the shotgun just because it's perfect for that. But I've also used this, and I've also used several other microphones, just kind of whatever's around, because it doesn't matter as much. Anyway, would you guys be interested in more information about behind the scenes stuff? That's something I've been meaning to ask, because I am hoping to do this more and more professionally. I've already mentioned the other audio drama I'm working on right now called Who the Fuck Killed My Sister. That's coming out real soon. I am one episode away from being done, and I'm so excited about that. So it should be coming out this fall, within a month or two. But yeah, I want to start doing more of these professionally. I think they're just a blast to produce. I enjoy the entire process. I really want to build up a brand. That's one of the reasons you hear Studio Ruckus, a production of The Apocalypse Post, and Studio Ruckus when I'm doing the credits. Because The Apocalypse Post is probably not the right brand for doing other people's stuff, right? But Studio Ruckus, now that's something I can get behind. Let's cause a ruckus. Let's make some noise. Let's build some commercials and audio dramas and all sorts of other sound-related things. All right, anyway. Yeah, let me know if you want to get some more behind-the-scenes stuff. I would love to show you more of the process and just talk about things and story writing and casting voiceover actors and directing and editing and sound effects and music and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to I'd love to talk about this stuff. So if you guys are interested in seeing like a tutorial series, let me know. All right, so anyway, back to it. That was a long tangent. Stick with me, though. I mean, you have. If you're listening at this point, you already have. So I'm going to try to wrap up the last couple of episodes of Don't Stop Shooting before I leave for Wasteland, but I know I am cutting it close. There's less than a month. I'm hoping to leave in like 2 weeks, and I have to do 3 episodes by then. Oh, I'm not going to make it. I'll try to make it. I'm going to try so hard. But anyway, I'm hoping it'll be done by the time we get to Wasteland. If not, it'll be finished right after Wasteland. And then I've got so many more stories coming from the rest of the Wasteland community. So make sure you're subscribed. Oh, that music just kicked in, didn't it? At some point it kicked in. We're coming in for a landing. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening. Leave a comment or a review if you can. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. And if you hated it, share it with an enemy. But if they start to giggle, make sure they're not also shaking. Which, I suppose if you giggle hard enough, is an inevitability. All right. Until next time, survivors. Stay alive.